Is the Fed ignoring the real economic crisis? What's the shocking truth about inflation, employment, and the broken system and how it's affecting people? Let's find out. Families are gripping with the erosion of the purchasing power due to a rising inflation. It's becoming increasingly difficult to afford basic necessities, forcing them to make tough choices and prioritize their most essential needs over other expenses, like fun. Recently, Jon Stewart shed light on the real-life impact of inflation on every day. He highlighted the challenges faced by families as they struggle to provide for their basic needs and the rise of rising prices. This raises the question of whether raising interest rates is the right solution to address inflation, as it may not be the most effective or fair approach for families who are already grappling with financial difficulties. As families across the country struggle to make ends meet in the face of rising prices, the prevailing narrative blames the rising wages as the main cause of inflation, stemming from stimulus measures implemented during the COVID-19 pandemic. Nevertheless, this proposed solution to combat inflation raises crucial questions about its fairness, on impact on working-class people and middle-class families. See, it's argued that the working middle class is being asked to accept job losses and wage cuts for the greater good of the country. The root cause of inflation is attributed to the COVID-19 relief package, which is seen as overstimulating the economy and flooding people's pockets with just too much money that a lot of people squandered. On the contrary, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell has contradicted this notion, stating that rising wages are not the primary reason for inflation. He stated the need for a more comprehensive and fair approach to addressing inflation being emphasized, one that goes simply beyond blaming rising wages and takes into account a nuanced understanding of the factors driving inflation and their implications. It's imperative to consider the impact on policies on normal families, rather than disproportionately burdening them while corporate profits continue to soar. Contrary to the current narrative that blames demand-side factors such as stimulus spending and personal savings for causing inflation, data reveals that these factors only account for 30% of all inflation. Shockingly, rising corporate profit margins and business charging more make up a whopping 40% of inflation, which raises questions about the real drivers of rising prices, right? CEO incomes have skyrocketed, with CEOs now earning 399 times more than the average worker, and corporate profit margins are at their highest since 1950. The disparity between CEO incomes and worker wages is stark, indicating that rising prices may be driven by businesses prioritizing their profits over the well-being of consumers. This challenges the oversimplified notion of demand-side factors being the sole culprit. As the world grappled with the aftermath of the 2008 financial crisis, the government's response raised eyebrows. Trillions of dollars were being funneled into bailing out banks, yet the recovery of jobs and employment was painfully slow, taking a staggering 9 years to decrease from its peak in 2009. Fast forward to the current pandemic-induced economic downturn, and a different approach was taken. Rather than bailing out banks, money was injected directly into the hands of the people through stimulus measures. The result? A quicker V-shaped recovery for the economy and employment. Even those with higher incomes reported financial struggles, and the majority of Americans were already living paycheck to paycheck prior to the pandemic. The stock market, on the other hand, rebounded swiftly. It begs the question of, that should be the focus, right? It should be on rescuing banks, or maybe it should be on supporting people. What is the answer? The Fed has a crucial role in shaping the economic landscape of the United States. With a dual mandate policy to achieve both price stability and maximum employment, the Fed faces a delicate balance act of navigating the complexities of the economy. Traditionally, the Fed defines stable prices as inflation growing at a rate of 2% per year. However, recent inflation reports have shown higher rates, hovering around 5.4% or 4.7%. Unemployment, on the other hand, is currently at a historic low of 3.6%, the lowest since around 1969. While this is a certainly positive piece of information for the job market, it poses a challenge in the context of Fed's dual mandate. As the Fed grapples with the conflicting priorities of price stability and maximum employment, and the ongoing debate on the most effective approach to economic stimulus, it's clear that the traditional practices are being challenged. Stimulating demand by providing money directly to people, as opposed to solely focusing on the supply-side stimulus, is gaining traction as a viable policy option. Amidst this period of inflation, the Federal Reserve, often seen as an independent entity, separate from politics and money interests, is tasked with using monetary policy to address economic challenges. However, The decisions of the Fed, such as raising interest rates, can have far-reaching consequences for employment, potentially leaving millions of people without jobs. Furthermore, the perception that the Fed is surrounded by wealthy individuals and big business interests raises questions about whose interests are truly represented in its policies. Sadly, it's often lower and middle-income individuals who bear the brunt of the economic challenges, including inflation and interest rate hikes. As calls for reform grow louder, fixing the system may require a fundamental reinvention from the ground up, a complex and challenging task. But with concerted effort and a commitment to meaningful change, it's possible to address these issues and possible to create a more equitable economic system that benefits all Americans. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more eye-opening discussions and pressing economic issues. Together, let's make our voices heard and strive for a better future. For more videos like this, click on the links popping up on your screen, and I'll see you later.